When she was a kid, Luna aspired to be a superhero. Not the ones in skin-tight suits that could fly, but the ones that identified connections where others didn't. She wanted X-ray vision to observe criminals when they tried to hide from the law, and supersonic hearing to listen in on mischievous talks, then a measure of heightened strength to restrain the guys bigger than her. This was all she craved when she was a child. As she became older, her ambitions took a more realistic approach, which seemed in direct opposition to the surreal tone the news took. The facts became the new dystopian fiction. The world grew louder each year, apparently more violent, or more visible than the year before. Her generation grew up looking to cull the increasingly violent trends that saw mass incarcerations, drug wars, and serial killers studying to gain notoriety. Luna took the analytical route in her quest for justice, feeling more at home processing case files, evidence, and connecting dots. Her cousin, a sister almost, enrolled in the academy and became an officer of the law. Even extended family, no matter how far away, seemed to gravitate towards law enforcement, almost as if it were in their blood. A murderer becomes a serial killer with just 2 more kills, a coworker informed her over scones and coffee one morning. This one had 3 total that day, but that number hit double digits soon enough, accumulating corpses of officers, criminal lawyers, and several field investigators to a growing pile of victims. The news on TV, becoming more unreal as the years ticked on by, ran the blue blood killer story 24/7. Luna knew about the local serial killer, more so than most thanks to all the overtime spent processing corroborative evidence for their many crimes. However, it still felt more like gossip and fabricated plot points, at least until that phone call made something so artificial an actuality. The call came in the middle of the night, as unexpected as a bullet in the dark. Her cousin, the exemplar of a police officer, had been killed. It was just a tragically common traffic stop gone wrong, or armed robber with a weighted pistol. Maybe Luna could have mourned and pushed on, but it wasn't any run-of-the-mill incident that was so characteristic of headlines. No. It wasn't that, because life had long turned into a phantasmagoric nightmare. Officer Sarah Youngman, revered by all that mattered, died at the hands of the blue blood killer. Who he was, or who they were, remained an enigma despite their murder spree eroding through states, counties, and homes. But more than the long list of confirmed victims and possible connections Luna herself had registered and slept away, this monster killed Sarah. Somehow, that turned the boogeyman into a living, breathing threat. No longer was this tyrant a thing she filed at the end of the day. It wasn't an obsession of the media. He was here, and if not in the literal sense, then definitely in her mind. This realization gnawed at her for months after the real mourning faded. Luna's acceptance stage barely registered before she fell swiftly to anger once again, and it never genuinely went away. Luna craved a name. She wanted to know who killed the sweetest woman in the world, despite so-called dirty cops walking free. Luna needed justice. What was it about her cousin that triggered this killer in the first place? Could it be that she stood for everything a cop should be? A perfect example of morality, protectiveness, mentality, and heart? Officer Youngman was everything demanded in the ones that protected them, and Luna wouldn't allow her memory to fade away as another statistic. Day in and day out, she spent the connection she'd built up through work and rowdy Christmas parties to see if there was something no one else saw. Cop friends that never steered her wrong came up empty-handed. Family members with careers linked closer to the real action knew little else than the papers. Even the old-timers that knew things few else did all but shrugged when she pressed them for clues. She needed leads first, but there were none. So, in a last-ditch effort, she resolved to chew her boss for leeway. Luna did all she could for any little morsel of information, regardless of the fallout. Being an investigations analyst for the district attorney's office had its perks. but it only teased her for all the good it did with building an idea of who this killer was. Her boss knew what she was after, but he followed the rules as strictly as Luna did. Being shut down by him just meant there was one less layer between a law-abiding citizen and vigilante justice. With each denied application for information outside her classification, Luna saw the justice system's holes appear and broaden. Sometimes the law hindered what mattered. Progress couldn't always continue behind red tape and protocol. Perhaps, in cases like these, rules were meant to be budged. Maybe she couldn't talk her way into databases and case folders. Maybe it wasn't so easy as to read reports on other victims, hoping a eureka moment hit her. If she were going to make any change, it had to start with her, with citizens willing to help. Yes, Luna respected the law, and she would uphold it as Sarah would have wanted, but she couldn't stand idly by any longer. One morning, she called in sick, made flyers, and pinned them around town. She started a neighborhood watch that day, and by the next day at work, Luna couldn't think of anything else. It started with one report, then two, then 3 and 4, and more. Before she realized what was happening, her small network of retired cops and nosy neighbors had become a full-on crime watch program that spanned beyond the neighborhood, the suburbs, and into town. At times, the number of reports felt too much for one person, but for the hundreds of thousands of people less prepared for human horrors as Sarah was, Luna felt that a couple of sleepless nights was the least she could do. Luna had to get her answers somehow.
I should get to my computer and get the night started. Oh, yeah. I need to read that email and check out those bolos.